Today we're talking LEGO conspiracies, LEGO food, and if it's possible for them to make a LEGO Star Wars set so bad, I wouldn't buy it on Ask MandRproductions episode 242. If you have a question on answer on next week's episode, please leave it down in the comments section below, and as always, hit the like button. Captain Stancom says, what do you think LEGO's reasoning was for making a 501st Specialist Battle Pack rather than the obvious 2/12th Battle Pack? Do you think it's because they wanted to have troopers that actually use the new helmet holes, or because they wanted to keep the 2/12th unique to the ATTE? I think it's because of the helmet holes. Well, you see, the 2/12th troopers use the helmet holes to make them look bad, so they already make use of them. But I do think it's kind of a twofold answer. One, like the regular 2/12th troopers don't really use the helmet holes, right? They don't in any of the imagery that they put out for the set. It's more of just an aesthetically unappealing side effect of the new helmets, which really is unfortunate. But for a 501st Specialist Battle Pack with all of these troopers that can actually use the holes, might actually turn out to be pretty good in certain cases. So we'll see what it looks like, hopefully in the next few weeks, and then we can really make up our minds as to whether or not it was worth it. But I think a 501st Specialist Battle Pack will be pretty cool here. I really think the reasoning we're getting a 501st Specialist Battle Pack right now instead of a 2/12th Battle Pack, though, is because the 501st Battle Pack sold so well. If it didn't sell as well as it did, and I very much believe it is probably the highest quantity selling LEGO set ever. I suppose the only like individual item you could take from LEGO and say this might have sold more are base plates. So as far as like a specific set in a box, I would highly bet that the 501st set might be the highest quantity selling set ever for a number of reasons. But it just makes sense that you would follow up your possibly best selling thing ever with another thing much like it, you know, in the same vein, even though any Clone Trooper set is going to sell incredibly well. A 2/12th would have been nice, but that's just not what's happening next year. Honestly, I'm happy it's not happening because with the way the 2/12th helmets look, I have no desire to do anything with them. I have just been selling all of the extras that I keep getting. And so, yeah, I'm not collecting them at all. I think the helmets just look that bad. Zach the Lego Maniac says, what are your thoughts on Tales of the Jedi? Also, what sets do you think could potentially come from this series? So I think potential sets are obvious. Captain Rex's Y-Wing showed up for half a second, so it means they should make it. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, Captain Rex's Y-Wing made another small appearance. I don't think it really will push them to do it or not. They're either going to do it or not, and the Tales of the Jedi appearance is just icing on the cake, or maybe a sprinkle on the cake would be more apt for what that was. But I think this is a place where minifigure packs from LEGO Star Wars would really shine. I think LEGO should really be reconsidering what they do with those minifigure accessory packs that they started out with LEGO Star Wars just earlier this year, because using them as kind of army builder sets, not gonna fly, not gonna work. I think, you know, if you do a Tales of the Jedi minifigure accessory pack, you're golden. You do a Yaddle with a young Count Dooku and whoever else, third minifigure from Tales of the Jedi, and you've got a great minifigure character pack for LEGO Star Wars there. You throw in like a Jedi temple seat or whatever, I don't know, whatever random build, doesn't really matter. People are buying them for the figures, not the build. Anyway, that's something I want to touch on a larger video. But as far as the show itself, it was a wonderful throwback to the Clone Wars. It was a great surprise. We just didn't really expect this show to be coming out, right? There was like a leak maybe a year ago from a Lucasfilm employee gifting had Tales of the Jedi on it, but outside of that, you know, this show was just kind of plopped on us, and it's like, here's some small fun stories, and turns out the only thing I didn't like about it, I do not care about young baby Ahsoka. I don't care that she was 2 months old or whatever and knew to use the Force to stop a tiger from eating her and her mother or whatever. Like, I just do not care about that little storyline, but the rest of Ahsoka's stuff and the Count Dooku stuff certainly was amazing, and yeah, just a welcome surprise. Very fun show for, you know, an hour of your time, very much worth watching. Max wants to know if he should buy the TIE Fighter from 2020 or wait until a bigger, more accurate version comes out. If he does choose to wait, what would be my guess for when the next one comes out? So this is the 2020 TIE Fighter. It is cheap, but small, and so that's obviously the trade-off you're getting. It's also a little bit less accurate than what we've seen before, with some miscoloring on the front, which is just really unfortunate because it's super simple for LEGO to just be like, let's make this color in light gray, but they won't do it. Doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, you have this for 32 bucks or whatever it costs. It's fairly priced. It's just not as good as what else you could have gotten for more money. And so certainly for kids, this fills the gap, but maybe for display collectors, not so much. But this one is not retired yet, so it's still available on shelves, which means there's not a new one coming soon. I would not be waiting around for a new TIE fighter to come out to buy a bigger, more accurate TIE fighter, because it might be, and I know my analysis of this is that this is the type of set that they should and probably will keep on the shelf for like 5 years. So you're looking at maybe 3 more years of this on the shelf. I would guess, I would hope that's the way I want them to do it. So that's my analysis of it. Now with that in mind, there are other options out there. If you hop on eBay, you can find other TIE fighters for pretty reasonable prices. You can probably get a used 2017 75211 solo TIE fighter without minifigs, mind you. Definitely save on the cost because the Mimban Stormtrooper from this set is stupid expensive, so you'll save a ton of money if you just buy it without the figs. But you could probably get this for like under $100. To me, it's the best Playscale TIE fighter they have made. I think it looks much better than what we have from 2020. It obviously doesn't have the color inaccuracies, and it's just better looking in a lot of ways for your display. And as long as it fits on your shelf, you're gonna be very happy with this one. Or your other option, of course, would be to buy a used or sealed. You could always go sealed if you want to spend that extra cash, but I would recommend used for what I think you would want here. A used 2012 TIE Fighter. This one is also very good. Really the only difference between these two to me is this one's a little bit more tiled off, you can see. And then I would also say the little bubble for the cockpit is a different design cue that you might like, you might not like, versus the flatter cockpit on the 2017 version, which I think I really preferred, but for 2012 this was really good. So it really just depends on what you want there, but I would really recommend the 2017 one. You can buy a used one on eBay for a reasonable price without figs, and you'll be very happy with that, and you don't have to wait 5 to 10 years for another one. Random Uploads wants to know how many 5 battle packs I have and if they're gonna skyrocket in price after they retire, which is again happening very soon. So if you don't have yours, make sure you pick it up with the affiliate link in the description below. Anyway, I currently have about 108 opened 5 battle packs, so I just really counted up my Jet Troopers to figure that out. I didn't bother counting the rest of them, but I'm sure 108. I don't have all the builds. I got rid of a lot of them. I think I sold them to Blaine. Anyway, 108 open, so I got like 400 clone troopers from that for my army, and then I currently have about 159 sealed in the box for a total of 267. Probably plus a few, because I have the one on my shelf back there that I didn't count. I have the Lego Teen signed one that I didn't count down there. So really closer to 270, probably over that. And I definitely am going to be ordering more. Probably finish out around 300 with buying some more sealed in the box here soon. As to whether or not they're going to skyrocket in price, you and I both know the answer to that is we couldn't possibly know. Ultimately, I hope they do, right? Because it's something I own. So if it appreciates in value, it's good for me. But it's a set that everyone has bought plenty of at this point. You know, I'm not going to be wanting to buy any after it's retired, but ultimately it's impossible for us to know whether or not it's going to go up in price after it retires. That's the fun of it, I guess, right? That's the speculation part of Lego investing for some people. For me, you know, certainly if it goes up to $100 a battle pack, I'm going to sell some of my sealed battle packs. I'd be crazy not to, right? But for me, in buying as many as I have bought, it's also something that I want for my collection and my Clone Army videos, and it has a little bit more value to me in that way. And hopefully for those of you that have been buying them, you're not just buying them just because you think they'll be worth more money. Even if you are, do what you're going to do, right? As long as you're appreciating what you've purchased, it's fine if it doesn't skyrocket in value, right? So yeah, 5 battle pack, we'll see in a couple months what happens to the price of it. I'm kind of done speculating on it outside of maybe one video I'm going to do talking about Lego investing. Robert Walker says, do you think there will not be any more Microfighters? And if you do, what do you think could replace them? So yeah, this was a theory I had been running with, but it's certainly not going to be the case, at least this year. There's supposed to be one Microfighter for 2022, and that is Boba Fett's Slave 1 Microfighter. It's kind of a bad theory, but it's something that I've seen thrown around a little bit, is that, you know, the last couple years, the Microfighter has become the UCS set, the AT-AT that was lumped in with the Tauntaun, and of course they also released a Millennium Falcon Microfighter that year, but one of those 3 Microfighters became a UCS set, and then this year, the Razor Crest Microfighter was the only Microfighter, and it became a UCS set. So, you know, if you're reading tea leaves and you want to subscribe to theories and do the wild stuff, you know, Slave 1 must mean there's a UCS Slave 1 coming. I hope there's a UCS Slave 1 coming. I think it's one of like the 5 UCS sets that need to be remade the most right now. It's probably the most pertinent remake for a UCS set they could make, with, of course, the Book of Boba Fett having just wrapped up and just really high popularity for that ship in general anyway. So hopefully that's what comes true. Whether or not the Microfighter means that or not, who knows, but also Microfighters aren't going anywhere as of yet. LuluB.1 says, what's your opinion on eBay sellers using your images for their listings? Personally, I think it's bad as you're not showing the customer what they're getting. Keep up the amazing content. Well, thank you, LuluB.1. I personally do not care if people use my pictures, things I put on YouTube, whatever, to sell their stuff, except for that it can be confusing for buyers and they think they're buying from me. If that wasn't a thing and if people knew they weren't buying from me, I literally just do not care. The only reason I really care is because if they have a bad experience and they think they bought it from me, then it's my problem and they hate me, even though I didn't do anything, right? So outside of that, I literally couldn't care less. But it does worry me a bit that someone could have a particularly bad experience with the seller thinking they're buying from me, and then just it reflects poorly on me, even though I'm completely innocent in the situation, right? So that's the only real concern I have with that sort of thing. Every once in a while, I'll message a seller on eBay when I come across it, and I'll be like, hey, you know, I'd just appreciate if you didn't use this. I don't want it to get confused with anything. But outside of that, I don't do anything really to stop it and don't mind it too much. Again, just outside of the small fear that people would think it's me, I guess. Barbie Babe says, do you think at some point they'll come out with food or drink Lego sets, kind of like the bouquets they've previously made? So I have no interest in Lego flowers. However, I do have an interest in a Subway footlong Lego set, you know? So I think this is a great idea. I love this. I think it would be fantastic to be able to pick up a hamburger, french fries, chicken nuggets, in a Lego set. That'd be a great buy as a build, just a fun thing. I don't think they'll ever do it. What I think might be a bit more realistic and something I would equally love are some Lego food stands, maybe for even Lego City. If they did like Lego City amusement park as a lineup, you know, of a summer wave or whatever, and they had like a 3-pack of food stands, like a fry stand, a burger stand, and a drink stand. I think it's relatively unlikely they'll do like actual like food, but maybe as part of like a Lego City lineup with like a food stand set, that would be awesome. I like the idea a lot. Hopefully it happens. Plebastian says, I've been a subscriber for years now, but I've never really heard you talk extensively about which of the Star Wars films you love and hate. Is there a chance you can do a video detailing your opinions or just a quick rundown and ask MandR? Well, you've come to the right place. I'll tell you 3 that I love and 3 that I hate. So my top 3 Star Wars movies, number 1 is Revenge of the Sith. I think that's my favorite Star Wars movie ever. It recently moved into the number 1 first place, whatever, because I was basically like, well, I'm only picking Empire as first place because everyone else picks Empire. And I'm like, no, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie. It's number 1, gosh dang it. And so that's my number 1 Star Wars film. Number 2, respectfully, is Empire Strikes Back. Love that movie too. Gotta love the AT-AT Walker Imperial Shuttle. Can't go wrong. Although Imperial Shuttle also episode 6 and the AT-AT, I guess. But really, I equate those with episode 5 more. And then my third favorite Star Wars movie is definitely Rogue One. It's the only Star Wars movie that really emotionally moved me. Got a little tear out of that one at the end when the characters died on the beach. Like, even though you knew they had to die, you know, it was still moving to me. So yeah, I really liked Rogue One. I thought that was the best of the Disney films as well thus far. I also really like Solo, but that one obviously not cracking the top 3 there. And then as far as the bottom 3 films, this is where it's a little bit tough because I think episode 1 and 2 really suck, but I also really like them. So it's hard for me to like sit here and be like, yeah, I really hate them and this is why. But like episode 2, I always thought was kind of boring, but every time I really think about it, I'm like, well, I also like it. So I don't know what to say about it. Like episode 1 and 2, pretty bad, but I also think episode 8 and 9 are worse in a way, just from like a nonsense point of view. Like both movies make no sense to me. It's just stuff happening. Like they're cool, there are some really cool cinematic shots and I like some of the Lego sets from them, but like if they could redo the movies and do something completely different, I would go watch today. Like leave episode 7, even though it's a complete reboot of episode 4, fine, whatever. But if you want to redo something, redo 8 and 9 and like just completely change the storyline of the characters, you know, change it all. So kind of bottom 4 there, I guess, with episode 1, 2, 8, and 9. So those are my quick Star Wars movie thoughts. Let me know why I'm wrong in the comments. Birder wants to know if I've been to Legoland, wondering if it's even worth it now that he's an old man. I think it's probably worth it as a one-time experience, especially maybe if you have a younger nephew or cousin or whatever, someone you can drag along, or a kid, you know, that would help a lot. Personally, I wouldn't just go to go. Like, it's not a Disney or Universal type of experience for dang close to the price. I think it's like $110 for a day ticket to Legoland, or $105. It's ridiculous for Legoland, Florida, right? Would not recommend for the price, certainly. However, maybe more in the budget free is the shopper pass that they do, because Legoland shopping is actually fun. And if you're looking for some cool Lego sets, they usually have most of the stuff that other places have. However, their like pick-a-brick wall is always awesome. awesome. They always have way better parts than your local Lego store would have. And so you could go in, you get a 1-hour shopper pass. You just have to be back out within an hour to get your refund of $105 or whatever. And you can just shop around for an hour. And you also can get a taste of the park. It's not like they only limit you to the stores, but you do only have an hour. So I would recommend the shopper pass maybe for you if it's close by. But as far as like a theme park experience for $100, no way. Andrew M wants to know when the next episode 7 and 9 set wave is coming. He's interested in building his first army bigger. Look, I'm going to tell you straight up here, you're probably going to have to take your talents to online marketplaces. Lego Star Wars is not going to be releasing, let alone another wave of sequel trilogy sets, probably another sequel trilogy set period for quite a while. Those movies people really hated. The Lego sets did particularly poorly for most of them. Like, there were some really deep clearance discounts for a lot of them. Now, not to say that Lego didn't hurt themselves in certain areas, like that First Order battle pack could have been much better if they would have not included 2 random officer characters. You know, there's some things that Lego could have done better, I suppose, to help their sales. But ultimately, the movies people didn't like. Disney seems to just kind of want to put it behind them for the most part. So I highly doubt we're getting anything anytime soon. Nathan says, what are a few different ways you would recommend displaying the UCS Millennium Falcon? Stand, clear case, mount to wall, etc. Love the content. Keep it up. Thank you. So the mount to wall idea is always interesting, although there's always the never-ending fear that it would just fall off the wall, especially if you live in somewhere where there's earthquakes, I guess, although anything on a shelf could also fall, so fair enough. The wall thing is interesting, and it does save a lot of space if it's a road you're willing to go down. I certainly wouldn't do it, but if it's something you're into, go for it. I think the best way to display a UCS Millennium Falcon is with one of the clear cases that holds it vertically somewhat, so you get a good view of the Falcon, and more importantly, it does not take up a huge table space because it's just a huge ship with such a large footprint that you just have to devote a whole corner of your room basically to it. So I would recommend for most people to do like the clear stand that holds it straight up, or there's even like cheaper things that are just the stand that holds it up and you don't even need like the whole acrylic casing, but if you want to keep it dust free, you need the acrylic casing, you know, so, but you can save a ton of money if you don't want to do the dust free route and you just want the stand to save the space. So you can do either of those, but I also think the coffee table route is really cool if you're really into it and you have the coffee table space in your house. That's another one that I've seen a lot of people do that is really interesting and fun. I don't know if that's something I'll do in my future home or whatever, but it is something that's pretty cool and just kind of fits into your house decor in a way, which saves you space because it's otherwise space is just going to be occupied by a coffee table with nothing on it, I guess. So I think for most people, the vertical stand is the way to go. But if you're a little fancy, go with the coffee table. David, following up a little bit on what we talked about last week, says, I see a lot of the solid color Lego Star Wars figures such as Darth Vader, Stormtroopers, Clone Troopers, etc. And they are all in colors, even blue translucent. There's also like purple translucent, pink translucent. I mean, you name it, they probably have it. So he just wants to ask if you know where these come from. I have called Lego and asked if I can buy one or even the parts, but I was told they don't sell or make green, red, or orange Vader minifigs. If this is true, are those being sold real, official Lego items? Thanks. So after many, many years of these things existing, they have slowly become cheaper and more readily available, which is interesting too, but that's something that's really hard to like see if you haven't been following it. To a lot of people, they just kind of appeared in the last year, I would say, but they have been around for quite a while, at least some of them. And as far as I can tell, they come from the Mexico Lego factory. How exactly they get out of the factory is beyond me. This is something that has been happening for many, many years now, and you would think Lego, being as smart and big a company as they are, would have figured out how to stop it if it was something they wanted to stop. So I do believe they are real official Lego pieces, as in, you know, Lego ABS plastic melted down and whatever into a mold and then popped out just in a different color than you're used to. And so in that sense, yes, it's real official Lego items. However, Lego, the overarching company or whatever, probably doesn't necessarily approve of these things existing or being sold, or at least that's what I would think. But then again, it's been many, many years and they have done nothing to stop it. So obviously a customer service person, probably not like someone that would know a whole ton about it. But as far as I know and can tell, they are real. They have the real Lego stamp on them. They are exactly the same as the other versions of the same figure that I have that came directly out of Lego boxes. So as far as I can tell, they're real and they're fun to collect. They're a unique item. They are something that I stayed away from collecting for a long time. In our next question, we'll get into that. The Bully McGuire says, have you ever heard any Lego conspiracy theories? If so, what was your favorite? I have one that is my current favorite Lego conspiracy theory, and it ties into what we were just talking about, and that's that Lego is complicit in these figures existing, because there's no other way. There's no other way. Like, okay, these figures, like I said, have been getting out of the factory for years and years and years. And so you would think with the unlimited resources of billions and billions of dollars, you could find out who or what group of people at a specific factory, and yeah, I'm talking a little bit out of my butt here, but like, you gotta be able to figure that out, right? I mean, there's just no other way that these figures have existed for years and years and years, and on such a relatively large scale. A lot of these are getting out, as are other figures, like regular standard figures, I don't know how else to explain it, that are just getting out of the factories, I guess, early. A lot of the time you might see like leaks of figures, and that's how a lot of stuff back in like 2015 was happening. So it's been happening at least since 2015 that I recall. Anyway, for years, I didn't allow myself to collect this sort of stuff, but it has, one, become so cheap that it's hard for me to ignore. It's like, they're like $20 to $30 each, and especially if you just want like one certain color of Clone Trooper, bro, it's like so worth it to have something cool like this, right? To me, as a collector, I had been eyeing them for years and years, and finally I cracked, because I basically came to the realization, like, Lego is doing nothing to stop it. They have said nothing to the community that would indicate that, you know, hey guys, please don't buy this, you know. I think they're behind it. They have to be. That's my conspiracy theory, and that's why I've allowed myself to start buying them, and it's also just fun and a cool collectible. So, color Clone Troopers, you can find them all over the internet now. PJ says, have you seen the new Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron? Are you planning on collecting them? What do you think about them? So I have seen them in passing in Target stores, and the only one I really want is the Asajj Ventress Galaxy Squadron set, because Lego is never making that as a set, so I would just want that. They also made a Republic gunship one, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I would like the Asajj Ventress one. I don't really have any huge thoughts on them otherwise. I just think they're kind of neat collectibles, but not something I'll collect a ton of. And finally, from JKLM Videos, he says, how bad would a Star Wars set have to be for you not to purchase it? And the answer is, there isn't one. Like, people often comment on a video where I'll give a negative review of a set and say, well, if you don't like it, why did you buy it? I buy every Lego Star Wars set, and I review every Lego Star Wars set, because how else would I have a good compass for what's good and what's bad, right? Like, to me, it just makes sense. Like, if I only buy like, if I'm an Apple tech reviewer or whatever, right? If I'm MKBHD and I only review the one iPhone I like every year, well, then you have no frame of reference as to what's good and what's bad. But I also like want to collect every Lego Star Wars set anyway, so it doesn't matter to me how bad what they put out is from that perspective. I'm gonna buy it. Me as one person supporting it, as people say when they get mad at me in the comments, that's not gonna make a difference for Lego. That's not like making some big point to Lego that one person spent $40 on a set that they think is terrible, right? Like, it just is what it is. But essentially, unless they made a set that completely priced me out because it was $1 million, like, I'm gonna buy it because it's interesting for the channel, it's content, it's my job, it's what I like, it's what I love, it's what I've done for 20 years of my life, right? Like, ever since I got that first one there, the twin pod cloud car, like, I just can't not buy a Lego Star Wars set because it just doesn't make sense. I want to review everything. I want to be able to have a look at everything and see what's out there. Good and bad. Terrible, even. I have to see it. But yeah, you're not going to find me not buying a Lego Star Wars set as long as I'm making Lego Star Wars videos on YouTube. So let me know in the comments section below how bad a set would have to be for you not to buy it. But that is it for me in this episode. If you enjoyed, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you have a question or want to go to the next week's episode, leave in the comment section below.
Bye.